Hey guys, it's Kara here for another episode of Dietitian Talk, and today I wanted to talk about metabolic damage. In my last fitness update video, I spoke about how I've been working mostly on trying to improve my metabolism, and quite a few people did ask me to share more about that and how I'm going about doing that and why. So I wanted to do this video to talk about my personal experience with metabolic damage and just kind of discuss it a little bit, to put it out there, because I know when I first started competing a few years ago, there was no information on YouTube. As a female competitor, I couldn't find much on bikini competing, and now I think that it's gaining a ton of popularity. We're now seeing some of the side effects of what we're doing. So what is metabolic damage and who can it happen to? Well, I think the most common example you're thinking of is a competitor. In particular, I think it happens more so, you see it with females than you do males. And not saying you can't see it in a male, however, men being born naturally with more muscle mass, much higher testosterone levels than females, I don't think they struggle the same as women do. So I do think you see this more commonly with females than you do males. So you see it a ton in the competition world, but you can see it for anyone who's going on a calorie restriction or maybe a yo-yo dieter and those types of things. So it's not just bodybuilders. So classic example, and I'll speak for myself as well because I think I am a typical example, and please share your experiences as you guys always do down below, because you guys always inspire me by what you share. So for me, I started out competing, trying to do, fairly low calorie, pretty controlled, restrictive diet, which you make changes with. I made great changes with. I lost weight. I started leaning out, and your body adapts to that. So anytime you go into a calorie deficit or reduce your calories, your body adapts. Your body is amazing. It's so able to adapt to any type of changes, which is why our bodies are just amazing. They adapt and they want to keep that homeostasis in the body the same. So if you're reducing your calories, your body is equipped to adapt to that. So in those times when you're cutting things down, your body's adapting, it does naturally lower your metabolism. If I go from eating 2,000 calories to 1,500, my body at some point is going to adapt to that and basically slow down a little bit. So the less you eat, the more your body's going to adapt, and the more it's going to kind of slow the metabolism down a little bit. It's basically a survival mechanism. So for myself, cutting down my diet, seeing results, all of a sudden it gets to a point where the results either stop or maybe they slow down. And for those competing, you got to keep seeing those changes. So then what do? Well, then you cut down your diet even more. Restrict the fat typically, cut that down if there's anything left to be cut down. When I was competing, I really wasn't eating much fat. I would say it was probably like 20 grams tops. About 20 grams tops. Carbs, those are typically one of the biggest things that we cut back as well as competitors. So maybe those are the first changes you make. So you cut those down, your calories go even lower, your body again adapts to that and slows down even more, you're eating less food. At some point, for most competitors, if you're not totally there yet with your leanness, you have to cut again. You have to keep getting those changes in motion. And where else do you cut? You get to a point where you can only cut so much out of your diet. For myself, I competed and my results weren't quite there yet, and then I cut out all carbs altogether. So I truly, with the exception of, ate asparagus, or you guys know what I'm talking about, some green vegetables in there, my carbohydrates then were cut down super low. And I want to say I did that one time competing for about a week. Totally cut out carbs. No carbs, barely any fat. I mean, my calories were probably between about 600 and 700 a day. And I know maybe some of you are going to judge me like, you're a dietitian, you're an idiot, what are you thinking? But when you compete, you get to this point where you also try to go, you try to go extreme, and you think if you just keep working harder and if you just keep making those changes, it'll pay off and you'll win, and you just have to keep at it. So I did that, cut out carbs, barely any fat, and then where do you go? You have nothing left in your diet, so then you start bumping up the cardio, right? So if you were already doing an hour a day, it turns into 2 hours a day, an hour fasted in the morning and then an hour at night. So this is kind of the point I got myself to, and I'm sure some of you who've watched this can maybe relate. Your body just keeps adapting to that stuff, and you're truly slowing down the body's processes. The more you cut, the more you increase your cardio, it's putting that stress on your body, and your body is going into survival mode. So that's when metabolic damage can start to occur. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that cutting your diet, increasing cardio are not things that have to happen to compete. However, I think what happens for a lot of people, for myself as an example, I went into that competition, placed, and then I wanted to keep competing, so what do? You stay on that type of diet. You can only do that for so long, and your body just slows down so much, and you don't see the same results. So for me, I competed, I did good, I did the same exact things with my diet, kept the cardio the same, and I just wasn't seeing the same results anymore. That's due to my body's damage, basically, and you're not going to always get the same results if you keep going competition to competition with the same extreme measures. So then what happens when you're done competing and most people take a break? We start eating a crap ton more. Some people binge, and then some people just totally change their eating habits. I know for me, sometimes I just want it to be done, monitoring all my food as closely and eating as clean, or, eating those set meals 1 through 5, which is what I used to do in the past. And even though I was making healthy choices, it's such a difference, and your body has slowed down so much from all the extremes, the fat burners, the 2-hour cardio sessions, the 700-calorie diet, and all of a sudden you're taking in more calories and not doing the crazy cardio, and that's when all the weight gain occurs. So then what do? You try to lose it, and you try to go to those extremes again, and you don't get the same results. So my point is, I think this is very common for a lot of competitors out there, and maybe even some of the male competitors too, or for those of you that just yo-yo diet and go up and down. The more extremes we go to, the more quick extreme measures, the more our body is just going to get damaged by it. It screws with our hormone levels too. Those things take time to reverse and adjust to. Your central nervous system takes a hit, your cortisol levels take a hit, your leptin levels, your thyroid levels. All those things are impacted by those extreme measures. So for myself, when I competed last and took time off, I didn't reverse diet like everyone says you should. I just tried eating healthy, and all of a sudden, I gained let's see, probably I was 105 on stage, and I went up to about 118 pounds. So for me, I was like, what the hell happened? I didn't binge, I didn't eat anything crazy, I wasn't making bad choices, but my body, I had been dieting for 8 months, and each time I competed, the restrictions got more severe. I had longer periods of time where I would carb deplete altogether. My last competition, I went 2 full weeks with no carbohydrates, with the exception of green vegetables. At the time, I was just thinking, well, I gotta do it to place well, and it so wasn't worth it, you guys. I didn't look as good on stage, I didn't feel as good, and I definitely hurt my metabolism and hurt my body from doing it. Don't get me wrong, years before competing, I was a marathon runner, and all I did was cardio. So I have been a cardio bunny. I had been a cardio bunny for a long time, and probably under-dieted. So for me, taking time off was huge, and it's been a long haul, and I think that's probably one of the biggest messages I can get out to you guys who are watching the full length of this video, is to be patient. Be patient and think about the things you're doing to your body, because you can prep for 8 weeks and do things quickly, but the harm you're going to cause in the long term is going to take you so much longer to reverse. So, for me, I've taken time off for over a year and a half now, worked on increasing my diet, increasing the foods that I was eating slowly, working with Mark to coach me on my macros and kind of slowly make increases, increase the amount of strength training I was doing, and cutting down the cardio significantly. Those are the types of things that have helped me. For you guys out there, just some other tips I would say is please just be patient with results and really think about the things you're doing and if it's worth it. And I understand to do well in this sport, you have to be obsessed and you have to be willing to work really hard. But, just because you're working hard, and it doesn't always mean doing the most extreme things mean you're working harder than other people or it's going to yield you the best results. It's hard. I know it's hard when you get in that competition mindset, though. You want to just do more and do whatever it takes, but just try to think about the long term and what that's going to do to you. One of the biggest suggestions I have is reverse dieting after a competition, which I will admit I never did that once after a competition. That can be huge. I have several fitness inspirations that I follow that have gotten great results with reverse dieting post-competition. Also, if you're a competitor, trying to keep your weight gain in the off season, if you have an off season, to a minimum. And I know you're going to gain some weight, but the days of gaining like 50 to 60 pounds, although I don't see a lot of bikini girls doing that, but it's not good. It's not good. The other side of things, gaining that much weight can also cause metabolic damage, which is probably a separate video, but you want to have that balance. So you slowly kind of have to work back into your diet. The other things I would recommend, and I personally will never do again for a competition, I don't agree with cutting out the carbs altogether. For me, I think it was a huge mistake. My husband even warned me when I was competing and said, just make sure, Kara, what you're doing isn't going to kill your metabolism or hurt you in the long run. And I was like, yeah, I don't think it will. I just wanted to win though. I didn't care. You just had your eye on the prize. So you kind of have to have that balance there for what's worth it. And cutting your carbs severely can mess with your hormone levels, severely can mess with your leptin levels, and just make it really hard for you in the long term when you want to go back to real life to, not like rebound and gain a ton of weight. So I do not agree with cutting carbs out altogether for a competition. I don't think there's anything wrong with kind of, having higher days and lower days. I did that several times and I never had any rebounding after a competition. The carb cycling actually worked very well for me. But I don't agree with cutting out carbs. I don't agree with going on super, super low fat diets. I agree the fat has to come down, but you still need fat in your diet. That's, again, is essential for your hormone levels. And the longer you maintain a super low fat diet, the less efficient your body's going to be able to burn fat once you bring it back into your diet. And also the cardio, be careful, what you're doing from the start of prep to the end of prep. Are you going to be able to maintain it? You don't want to go into your prep doing 2 hours of cardio a day, because where are you going to go from there? And then when the competition's done, are you going to keep doing that? So for me, that's just my mindset on competing and helping to prevent the metabolic damage. Be patient, take a longer prep if you need to. Don't jump into it. The stage is always going to be there. It truly is. These bodybuilding shows are not going away. They're not going anywhere. It's always going to be there for you. 6 months or 12 weeks or whatever is necessary for you to kind of slowly get your body to the point you need it to. I think the better off you're going to be in the end, and the less chance you're going to have of rebounding and having that metabolic damage, which leads to severe depression and other mental mind fucks and body image issues. Holy crap, it's a lot of rambling. So I hope I answered some questions about metabolic damage. Like I said, I've spent the past year and a half building my metabolism. I feel like I've made some crazy changes, some really good changes in the right direction. And for me, the next time I compete, like I said in my last video, it will be the smart way, the right way, and I won't compete or have a date set until I know my body's ready. I'm not going to kill I'm not going to do the same metabolic damage I did before. It's definitely not worth it. It's not worth it. So I hope this video was helpful for some of you. Share it with others if you know people who maybe have been impacted by this. Comment below and let me know your thoughts, or share your experiences or what you have felt has helped you kind of regain control in your life. So as always, thank you for watching. Don't forget to check out my sponsors, P28 discount code Kara P28 for 10% off. Also, you can check out tigerfitness.com using my link in the profile, discount code Kara for 5%. So thank you guys, and I will be back for more dietitian talk.